You will not like what I am about to tell you, and that is good. Liking has put you to sleep your whole life. So listen, in your present state, you are not living for yourself. You are not thinking for yourself. You are not even suffering for yourself. You are being used. Your finest energy, your most delicate emotions, your most intense inner storms are food. You imagine that you live to work, to love, to build a little nest of comfort. In reality, you live to feed. You are a field that has never learned it can refuse to be harvested. Right now, as you sit here, your body is producing very subtle energies. Your thoughts, your emotions, your instinctive processes, each transforms the coarse energies of food, air, and impressions into something finer. You have never seen these energies directly, but they are more real than your opinions. They are the reason you can feel joy, awe, terror, deep shame. They are the reason you can, in rare moments, sense that you are more than this flesh. And they do not stay with you. They do not belong to you, not as you are. You live at the level of a man renting a beautiful house and assuming he owns it simply because no one has yet thrown him out. You walk through rooms, slam doors, spill wine, but the deed is not in your name. Life has lent you a body and a certain quantity of energy. You sign for it like a parcel, and before you even open it, you begin spending it unconsciously. Your anger spends it. Your vanity spends it. Your endless inner talking spends it. These spent energies do not vanish. They rise. They are eaten. The ancients spoke in symbols. They said that the moon is not finished. It is still growing, still becoming. And what does it grow on? On the subtle emanations of organic life. Plants, animals, and especially human beings generate a kind of electricity, a very fine substance, by their automatic life and their automaton. I see suffering. This is not poetry. It is a description of a law. Lower supports higher. The smaller wheel drives the larger. One realm is food for another. You are part of this arrangement. Whether you like it or not makes no difference. Notice your resistance to this idea. Some part of you shrugs. Interesting metaphor. Another bristles. I am not food for anything. Another says, this is too strange. Already you see many eyes. One believes, one denies, one ridicules. You say I, but you do not yet know who speaks. And the one that is outraged by the suggestion of being food is usually the most mechanical of all. The puppet that insists it pulls its own strings. Watch that one. For a moment, do not believe and do not disbelieve. Make a small experiment. Right now, become aware of the weight of your body where you sit, the contact with the chair or the bed, the pull of gravity. At the same time, hear these words. Hold both the sensation of weight and the sound together. Try it. For these few seconds, something different appears, a thin thread of presence, a taste that is not quite your usual daydream. This is the beginning of your own energy, not leaking immediately. It is very small, yes, but it is yours. Now recall your day. How many times did you become irritated? Not the borrowed conscience of society. This is good, that is bad, according to fashion, family, religion. Real conscience is different. It is a direct, wordless sensing of truth and falsehood in your own state. It does not argue. It does not negotiate. It simply shines a light, and in that light, you see how you lie, how you pretend, how you hurt others and yourself. Most of the time, this real conscience is buried. Your many eyes shout over it. Society educates you to deaden it, calling this process growing up and being realistic and learning to function. Every time you act against this inner knowing and then justify it with clever thoughts, you throw dirt over the small flame of conscience. Eventually, it becomes so buried that you can only sense it as a vague unease, a subtle anxiety that you cannot explain. So you blame work, relationships, politics, your parents, your body, anything but the fact that you have betrayed your own essence so often that you no longer hear its voice. Work begins to remove this dirt, and that is not pleasant. When you observe yourself impartially and retain energy through voluntary suffering and divided attention, you create the conditions for conscience to awaken. And when it awakens, it does not congratulate you. It shows you what you are. It shows you, for example, that the anger you nourish is mixed with vanity, that your generosity hides a need to be admired, that your spiritual seeking contains a desire to feel superior. This is not an intellectual diagnosis. It is a felt, undeniable seeing, and it hurts. Right now, take a small risk. Bring to mind one recurring behavior of yours that you suspect is not clean. Perhaps you often speak about other people when they are not present. Perhaps you make promises you do not keep. Perhaps you use kindness to control. Choose one thing. See a recent instance of it as clearly as you can. T. Hen, at the same time, sense your whole body as one piece, head, torso, limbs, all at once. Let this image of yourself and the sensation of your body coexist for a few seconds without justification and without condemnation. If you stay with this, you may feel a subtle sting, a discomfort not only in the mind, but in the chest, the throat, the gut. That is a small echo of conscience. Do not dull it with, everyone is like this, or I had good reasons, or it's not so bad. Also, do not dramatize it with, I am terrible, I am hopeless. Both are escapes. Instead, let the discomfort be. This is conscious suffering of a different order. You suffer from seeing your own mechanical falseness without turning your eyes away. The energy produced by this suffering is not wasted. It can crystallize into a real wish to be. Conscience, when active, does not feed the moon. On the contrary, it begins to cancel some of your debt, but you do not yet possess the strength to endure its full light. If suddenly it shone on everything in you, you would not bear it. So work proceeds gradually. First, you learn to observe small lies, the little exaggerations, the minor hypocrisies, then larger ones. Each time you allow conscience to show you something and you refrain from covering it up, you perform a small act of reverence toward your own essence. You say, by your attention, I am willing to see. Do not confuse this willingness with self-hatred. The work has no interest in making you hate yourself. Hatred, even when directed inward, is still food for the moon. It is another negative emotion, another mechanical storm. Real remorse of conscience is clean. It is sharp, but it is not destructive. After it passes, it leaves you lighter, more sincere, less sure of your illusions. You become a little more humble, and that humility is strength, not weakness. You may find that as conscience awakes, certain behaviors lose their taste. The old pleasures no longer satisfy. You cannot quite enjoy certain gossip, certain entertainments, certain cruelties as you once did. At first, this feels like a loss. What is left if I cannot enjoy my usual toys? But if you persist, you will discover another taste, the taste of being more aligned with yourself. It is quiet, but it goes deeper than excitement. It is not a mood. It is a subtle rightness. Right now, sense your hands both at once, feel their weight, their temperature. At the same time, recall one small moment from today when you acted against a quiet inner knowing. Perhaps you said yes when something in you whispered no. Perhaps you remained silent when you knew you should speak. Let that moment appear. Do not argue with it. Hands in sensation, memory of that act, and the feeling it brings up. Stay here a few seconds. In this small flame of awareness, you are already beginning to repay something. You are beginning to take responsibility for your energy, your actions, your being. You are ceasing, if only for a breath, to be entirely food. The moon still eats plenty. It has an old claim on you through years of mechanical law. Fey. But with each act of divided attention, each moment of conscious suffering, each glimpse of real conscience, you loosen its grip. It will not like this. Sleep will pull you back with 10,000 hands. You will forget, fall, indulge, justify, dream. That is expected. What is not expected, what is new, is that you begin again. You sense your body. You watch your thoughts. You see your emotions. You remember, if only dimly. I do not want to live entirely as food. This wish, if it becomes steady, is not of the moon. It is a call from a different level in you, a level that belongs to the sun. There is a point on this path where your efforts begin to accumulate in a more stable way, not because you have become suddenly virtuous or heroic, but because you have seen enough of your own mechanical nature that you can no longer pretend it is freedom. You begin quietly and without fanfare to want something else. This wish must be protected. It must be fed with sincerity and guarded from your own laziness, your vanity, your automatic discouragement. Now, we must speak of something that appears only after repeated efforts at self-observation, divided attention, and conscious suffering. You have perhaps noticed small moments where your inner workers, thinking, feeling, moving, coincide for a breath. In such moments, a subtle awareness opens. You are aware of yourself and the world at once. Your thoughts do not shout. Your emotions do not flood. Your movements do not wander. Everything in you is more assembled. This assembling is the beginning of a new kind of gravity inside you. It is sometimes called a magnetic center, not poetic, not mystical in the vague sense. It is literal. A field of forces inside you begins to align like filings in the presence of a magnet. Before this, your energies were scattered. One day the mind was strong, another day the emotions, another day the body's cravings, each pulled in a different direction. With no stable center, your life rolled downhill like a stone, hitting whatever obstacles lay in its path. But when energies begin to gather, even a little, the stone slows. It begins to sense that it could choose its direction. This magnet forms from your real wish, not the wish to feel spiritual, not the wish to be admired for your efforts, but the quiet, steady wish not to live in sleep. At first it is delicate. It fades easily. You forget it for days. Then it returns when you see yourself clearly again. When you observe your reactions, when you catch a lie in yourself, when you bear a discomfort consciously, a small particle gathers. Over months, years, this magnetic field grows. Let us try something now to feel the faint presence of this field. Bring your attention inward, not to any specific sensation, but to the whole volume of your body, from the crown of the head to the soles of the feet. Feel it as a single mass, not in imagination, but in sensation, the outline of your form, the interior space of the flesh. Then, at the same time, let your ears open to all the sounds around you, distant noises, subtle hums, perhaps you. Your own breath, inside and outside together. Hold this for a few seconds. In this moment, something stands in you, a vertical line, a presence that was not there a few minutes ago. This presence is not thought. It is not emotion. It is not merely body sensation. It is a different function altogether, born when the three centers briefly cooperate. This presence is the beginning of will, not the weak will of mood or preference, but a more impartial will that can choose against habit. But even if this center begins to form, something else in you continues to sabotage it. A pattern, a chief habit, a characteristic blindness. You have one. Everyone does. It is the thing you defend most fiercely, the thing you excuse most quickly, the thing you always fail to observe even after seeing everything else. For one person, it is vanity, for another, laziness, for another, fear, for another, the need to control, for another, the hunger to be admired. This chief feature is the moon's anchor in you. It is the surest channel through which your energy drains. You cannot find it by theorizing. You find it by observing what repeatedly ruins your efforts. Each time you decide to work, what stops you? Each time you promise yourself sincerity, what interrupts? Each time you see clearly, what pulls you back into sleep? Notice the pattern, notice the feeling tone of it, notice the story that justifies it. Do not fight it head on. Do not attack it like a moral crusader. Simply see it again and again. When you see it without justification, without self-pity, without drama, it begins to weaken. Seeing is the first blow. Right now, try to remember the last moment when your dignity was touched, when something in you felt exposed or diminished. Perhaps someone corrected you, ignored you, spoke in a tone you disliked. Recall the sensation it produced: heat, tightness, defensiveness. Feel that memory. At the same time, sense the soles of your feet. Let both exist together, the memory and the sensation. Do not justify, do not condemn, just see. You may find that this feeling appears often. You may see that you live in its shadow, avoiding situations that touch it, seeking ones that soothe it. This is one of the roots of your mechanical life. If you observe it sincerely over time, you will see how many choices you have made because of it, how many lies you have told to protect it, how many conflicts it has created. And when you see all this without turning away, the chief feature begins to lose its power, slowly, relentlessly. There comes a moment where you understand that the personality, the collection of habits, defenses, fantasies, fears, is not you. It is useful in life. It helps you navigate society, but it is not the carrier of truth. Essence, on the other hand, is quiet. It does not argue. It does not advertise itself. It does not seek validation. Essence simply is. It is your native being before all adaptation, all imitation, all fear of rejection shaped you. When you taste essence, you taste a simplicity, a sincerity, a kind of clean presence that requires no explanation. You cannot decide to live from essence. But through observation, through dividing attention, through bearing the friction of seeing your mechanicality, essence begins to emerge. It does not grow by self-improvement. It grows by self-truth. Each moment you see your falseness impartially, essence gains a gram of weight. Each moment you refuse mechanical expression of negativity, essence strengthens. Each moment you remember yourself, even dimly, essence breathes. Now imagine you are walking down a familiar street. You have walked it 1,000 times. You do not see it anymore. You walk wrapped in thoughts and emotions. Suddenly, in the middle of a step, you become aware of the sensation of your foot touching the ground. You hear the sound of the wind. You feel the temperature of the air on your face. You are here. You remember yourself. The world is not a blur. It is alive. You are not a ghost drifting through impressions. You are present. This moment is not dramatic. No angels appear. No visions unfold. But something real has occurred. Essence looked out. Personality was not fully in charge. For one breath, you stepped out of sleep. You tasted your own existence, not as an idea, but as a fact. This is the fourth way, the way of awakening in the midst of ordinary life, not in monasteries, not in caves, not in seclusion, but in traffic, in kitchens, in conversations, in disappointments. Everywhere there is friction, everywhere there is impression, everywhere there is sleep, there is also the possibility of waking. You do not escape the world, you use it. Life becomes not a distraction from work, but the very material of work. Right now, sense the back of your head, the skin, the shape, the contact with air. Hold that while noticing one emotion present in you. And also listen to these words, 3 directions. Stay for a few seconds. This is work. Not grand declarations, not mystical fantasies, clear, muscular sincerity. You may ask, when will I be free of feeding the moon? Do not concern yourself with that. Concern yourself with this moment. Are you awake or asleep? Are you identified or observing? Are you leaking energy or retaining it? Are you running after inner comfort or bearing inner friction? Freedom is not a future event. It is the quality of attention now. Do not expect a finish line. There is none. You are not climbing a staircase to a final enlightenment. You are learning to stand upright within yourself again and again in situations where you would normally collapse inward. You are learning to keep a thread of awareness while the machine rages, trembles, panics, indulges, dreams. Some days you will forget for hours, for days even. Then one moment of sincerity will return and the work resumes. You are not asked to be perfect. You are asked to be awake for 1 second more today than yesterday. 1 scrap of energy saved, 1 reaction observed, 1 lie seen, 1 inner storm endured without expression. These moments accumulate. They change the taste of your life. They build something in you that does not die with the body. The moon will still feed, yes, but less. And what it cannot consume begins to nourish a different center in you, a seed of being. That seed must be tended. It must be warmed by attention, watered by sincerity, protected by effort. If you neglect it, it goes dormant. If you return to it, it awakens again. There is no final victory here, no comfortable plateau. Each day you begin again. Each moment is an invitation to remember yourself. The work is never finished because consciousness is not a possession, but an ongoing act. You light the flame and it goes out. You light it again, over and over. This repetition is not failure. It is the path. If you want certainty, you will not find it. If you want comfort, you will not find it. But if you want truth, not the truth of theories, but the truth of your own state, then you must work quietly, sincerely, without drama, without expectation of reward. Right now, before this ends, sense your whole body at once, feel the breath, hear the sounds around you, and in the midst of all this, feel yourself here as a presence. This moment is not final. It is not an achievement. It is a beginning. And the work, if you choose it, begins again the very next breath. How many times did you replay a conversation in your head, feeling wronged or superior? How many times did you imagine yourself admired, recognized, finally understood? Each such episode creates a subtle inner storm. Muscles tense, pulse changes, breath becomes shallow, the body works harder, the heart pumps more, the nervous system fires. This is labor. And what is produced by this labor? A very fine substance. You cannot see it, but you can feel its echo, exhaustion, dullness, a kind of inner emptiness afterward. Ask yourself, when you finished that argument in your head, did you gain anything? Were you more awake, more present, or simply more tired, more glued to your story? Something was taken, some fuel was burned, and if you burned it, who warmed their hands at the fire? Right now, bring to mind one moment from today when you were negative. Perhaps someone cut you off in traffic. Perhaps a message did not come. Perhaps a person spoke in a tone you did not like. See it. See your reaction. Notice how fast it came, how little you chose it. Now sense your left hand, not as an idea, but as a tingling, a weight, a presence. At the same time, look at that memory of negativity. Hold both together for a few seconds. Do not justify yourself. Do not accuse the other. Just see the picture and feel your hand. You are doing something very unusual now. You are looking at your own machinery while slightly apart from it. You are stealing a second of food back from the mouth of the moon, a crumb, but even a crumb is a beginning. Ordinary life is a factory. Impressions come in, sights, sounds, words, events. Your machine reacts. It grinds, chews, digests. Out of this digestion, energies are produced. But your machine has a defect. It has no proper owner. Imagine a beautiful carriage with strong horses and a capable coachman, but the master is missing. For years, the horses learn to go wherever they like. The coachman drinks, sleeps, forgets. The carriage rattles along rutted roads, crashes into ditches, stops in front of taverns, and still fuel is burned, wheels turn, passengers come and go. This is your life. Your fine energies, which could build a real master inside, are spent dragging the carriage from one mechanical situation to another. Nothing in nature is wasted. What you do not use goes somewhere. Your uncontrolled sexual fantasies, your bursts of rage, your secret envies, your endless anxieties, all of them give off subtle emissions. You do not hold them long enough for them to crystallize into higher states of being. So they are taken, they rise like heat from a boiler that drives someone else's machine. You are astonished at how tired you are at the end of the day, having done nothing truly conscious. Where has your day gone? More precisely, where has your energy gone? Right now, feel your jaw. Notice any tension there. Do nothing about it. Do not relax it by force. Simply see it. At the same time, be aware of your breath entering and leaving your nostrils. Tension in the jaw, air at the nose, and the sound of my voice. Three things together. Hold it. You are again not entirely food. You are taking one step from being a field harvested unconsciously to being a farmer who has noticed the door where the thieves enter at night. Your mechanical reactions are the main pipeline. They are the ducts through which your energy is siphoned. Notice how fast it happens. A word is enough. A glance, an imagined slight. You say, he made me angry. Nonsense. He pressed a button that has always been there, wired directly into a circuit that leads to your solar plexus, your breath, your shoulders. The reaction belongs to the machine. You only agree to call it I. You sign your name at the bottom of a document already written before you were aware of it. Think of a recent conflict. You were sure you were right. You felt a hot righteousness. Your mind brought in witnesses, past events, supporting evidence. Your body tensed. Perhaps your voice rose or fell. Afterwards, perhaps you regretted it, or perhaps you still replay the scene to prove your nobility. In both cases, the energy produced is gone. It did not stay to build anything stable in you. The moon ate well that day. This is not punishment, it is arrangement. As you are, you cannot hold higher energy. It burns you like trying to hold steam in your hands. You lack the proper vessel. Work begins with admitting this. You are full of holes. Every reaction is a hole. Every fantasy is a hole. Every unnecessary word is a hole. Do not be offended. A colander can insult the water for leaking through, but its nature is to leak. You must first see that you leak before you can imagine sealing even one hole. Right now, listen to the next words, and at the same time, feel the contact of your feet with the floor or the bed. If your feet are not touching anything, then feel the shape of your spine. Bring attention there and hold it while listening. Notice how quickly your mind wants to wander, to comment, to drift. You are wam, atching the horse's bolt. You are seeing the coachman nod off. You are not fixing anything yet. You are taking inventory of leaks. Every time you indulge in mechanical emotion, self-pity, resentment, arrogant triumph, you pay with energy. You pay instantly. Nature does not send you a bill at the end of the month. The tax is collected at once. The price is presence. The price is the possibility of a different level of being. Instead of this possibility, you get the cheap candy of being right, being offended, being better. You stuff yourself with these sweets while the real nourishment you could have prepared escapes. Now see how habitually you spill yourself in words. You meet someone and immediately begin explaining, justifying, complaining, impressing. Very little is said from silence. Almost everything comes from compulsion. The tongue moves because the nervous system cannot bear a few seconds of unfilled space, and each unnecessary word drains something. You know the feeling after an hour of gossip or pointless talk, an inner thinness, a slight disgust. You have fed well, but not yourself. Try this. Remember one conversation today where you spoke to impress or to complain. See a short moment from it. At the same time, sense your right hand and the rise and fall of your chest as you breathe. Watch that moment and feel your body now together. You are practicing the art of looking at the machine from a slight distance. The more you see, the more you realize almost nothing in you acts from real freedom. You are a field of forces pushing and pulling, and these forces pay their tribute upward. Is there a way to keep something for yourself? Yes, but not the way you usually try. You try to keep by grabbing, defending, insisting. The work keeps by seeing and not mechanically discharging. Energy is saved first by not wasting it, and the main form of waste is unconscious suffering. There is a difference between accidental suffering and conscious suffering. Accidental suffering is when life strikes you and you howl without awareness. Conscious suffering is when life strikes you and you bear the inner friction without immediately escaping into expression, accusation, or self-pity. In the first case, your pain feeds the moon. In the second, your pain begins to feed your being. Imagine you hold a vessel under a dripping pipe. If the vessel has a hole, the water runs straight through into the ground. To keep the water, you do not need to add more pipes. You need to seal the hole. Your mechanical reactions are such holes. Conscious suffering is the effort to hold the water while the urge to let it pour out through familiar holes becomes almost unbearable. Right now, think of someone or something that annoys you, a person, a situation, perhaps even these words. Let it appear in your mind. Feel the tiny contraction that accompanies this annoyance, maybe in the chest, the throat, the stomach. Now do something very unusual. Do not argue with it. Do not justify it. Do not push it away. Simply feel it. At the same time, feel the weight of your whole body from head to toe as one mass. Hold the object of annoyance in your inner sight and your bodily weight in sensation at once. Stay here for a few seconds. You have just tasted voluntary suffering. You allowed a friction to exist in you without immediately expressing it, rationalizing it, or fleeing from it into distraction. You have paid attention to your own uncomfortable state instead of running from it. In that short span, energy began to accumulate instead of being thrown out into words, gestures, or fantasies. It is like holding your breath for a moment when you want to exhale a curse. Something warms inside under such pressure. Ordinary man avoids inner discomfort at all cost. As soon as he feels a sting, criticism, boredom, loneliness, he reaches for movement, a phone, a snack, a complaint, a story, a fantasy, a screen. Anything to stop the friction. He thinks he is relieving stress. In truth, he is turning stress into food. He is a cook, preparing dishes for invisible mouths. Conscious labor and voluntary suffering are the two arms of real work. Conscious labor is the effort to be present and to do ordinary tasks with attention. Voluntary suffering is the effort to remain inwardly present in the face of what you usually reject. Combined, they begin to seal the holes, to thicken the walls of the vessel. Only then can higher energies stay long enough to build something stable. Take a simple example. You come home tired. You find a familiar irritation waiting for you, a mess, a noise, a person's habit. Usually your reaction is instantaneous, a sigh, a sharp word, a withdrawal, an inner monologue. All this spends energy. This time you decide to work. You feel the irritation rising, heat in the chest, tightening in the jaw, quickening of thought. You say nothing, you do nothing. You stand still for 3 seconds. You sense your feet, your hands, your breath. You let the inner storm blow, but you do not ride it. You watch. Those 3 seconds will feel like fire. You will want to jump out of your skin. The urge to explode or flee will be very strong. This is good. This is your first glimpse of how much force your reactions carry. And if you manage even 1 second of such inner bearing without outer discharge, you will notice something afterwards, a small but real solidity, a kind of quiet strength. You will also notice how quickly you forget to work next time. Forgetting itself is part of the machinery that feeds. Right now, bring attention to the back of your neck. Feel any warmth, tightness, or neutrality there. At the same time, listen to these words and notice one thought that passes as you do this. Maybe this is strange. Maybe I'm tired. Maybe something about tomorrow. See that thought as if it were not you, but a line of text scrolling past. Neck sensation, the sound of the words, and the passing thought all at once. Stay like this a moment. You are learning to keep the fire inside without giving it away immediately in movement or speech. This is not repression. Repression pushes experience into the basement and then pretends it isn't there. Work brings experience into the light and lets it burn without acting it out. The heat generated begins to distill something. Over time, this distillation creates what traditions have called soul or astral body or magnetic center. Many names, the fact is the same. A stable something that is not swept away by every wind of circumstance. Do not imagine this can be done without pain. Nothing real in you grows without pain, but there is pain that destroys and pain that builds. The pain of unconscious life, the pain of chronic resentment, chronic fear, chronic loneliness burns energy and makes you bitter, smaller, more rigid. The pain of conscious work, bearing yourself as you are, seeing your ugliness without turning away, holding your reactions, burns energy differently. It forges. It is like the heat that tempers metal instead of melting it into uselessness. You will find that your vanity hates this path. Vanity wants immediate comfort, recognition, easy spirituality, pleasant words, gentle affirmations, a God who strokes your hair while you sleep. This work does not begin with a lullaby. It begins with an alarm clock. And alarm clocks are not sweet. They are designed to be unpleasant because what they awaken you from is more dangerous than the shock of waking. It is the life of being used without knowing it. So do not ask yet, how do I stop feeding the moon completely? First, see how you feed it. First, map the leaks. First, taste, even for a second, what it means to hold an uncomfortable state without automatically expressing or escaping it. Whenever you do this consciously, you become, for that brief instant, less slave, more master, very little but more. This is the first break on the endless drain of your energy. Blood still leaves the wound, but no longer in a gushing torrent. You place your hand on it, not as a panic, but as an act of will. In time, if you continue to observe, to bear, to remember yourself, the wound begins to close, not by miracle, but by law. The same law that once used you as food begins to recognize you as something else, not cattle, but a small, newly lit star, learning not to squander its light in every direction. There is another form of wasting that you do all day, which you hardly suspect, because it feels like nothing at all, forgetting. Not forgetting where you put your keys, forgetting yourself. A moment ago, when you sensed your body and your irritation together, there was a slight sharpening, a density of presence. Now it is gone. In its place, the ordinary stream flows again. Thoughts about tomorrow, faint emotions, vague sensations. This ebbing and flowing happens thousands of times a day, but you do not notice it. You only remember yourself by accident, like a drunk man who occasionally walks in a straight line, not because he intends to, but because the street happens to slope that way. Consider this. What would your life look like if you did not forget yourself every few seconds? Picture the last conversation you had. Did you know in the very moment of speaking that you were speaking? Did you feel yourself there as a living, sensing presence, or were you entirely swallowed by the topic, the emotions, the need to be right? If you re-honest, you will see that you were inside the conversation as a dream, not standing beside it as a watcher. There was no one home, only the machine talking to another machine. This is waking sleep. To begin to escape this sleep, you require a new function, divided attention. Do not be frightened by the phrase. It is simple, but not easy. Divided attention means that a part of your attention goes to the outer, what you are doing, what is happening, and another part goes inward toward the fact of your own being. Not your story, not your opinions, not your drama, just the bare sense, I am here. When this division appears, even for a second, something in you steps out of the current. You are still in the river, but you are no longer only water. You are also a swimmer. We will not speak about this only in ideas. Ideas are cheap. Work is expensive. Right now, as you hear these words, bring part of your attention to the physical sensation of your chest, rising and falling with each breath. Not thinking about it, feeling it. The movement of ribs, the subtle stretching and releasing of muscle. At the same time, let another part of your attention stay with the sound of the words, two directions, inward to sensation, outward to sound. Hold this for a few seconds. Something in you resists. Your attention slides back into the words alone or into the sensation alone or disappears into some thought about your day. Fine, see that. Nat again, gently but firmly. Place one part of attention on the breath, one on the words. Do this 3 times. You are not trying to become a saint in 10 seconds. You are trying to taste what it means to be not entirely identified with one stream of experience. This small exercise is a tiny example of self-remembering. In such moments, the energies produced by your body, your emotions, your thoughts do not immediately leak. They begin to gather around a new center, a silent witness. The moon cannot easily feed on this quality. It is too ordered, too vertical. The moon feeds on horizontal movement, reactivity, automatic emotion, scattered thought. When you stand up in yourself even a little, the menu changes. Of course, your ordinary life will not like this. It will conspire to pull you back. The phone will ring, a message will come, a noise will arise, some part of you will whisper, "This is pointless, I understand already." Understanding without experience is another form of sleep. It gives you the illusion of progress while everything stays the same. So instead of believing that you get it, test it. The next time you walk from one room to another, from your house to your car, try this. Feel the contact of your feet with the ground with every step, and at the same time see what your eyes are seeing. Do not stare at the ground or force anything. Simply allow a thread of attention to stay with the sensation of walking and another thread with the world outside. If thoughts arise, let them come and go, but keep these 2 threads. You will notice that within seconds you forget. You will find yourself at the door or the car with no memory of holding the attention. This forgetting is your real prison, not the situation, not the job, not the relationship. Forgetting. When you catch yourself, do not be discouraged. Do not scold. Machines cannot be improved by insults. Simply start again. One step feeling your feet, one step seeing the surroundings. Each time you return, you create a moment in which your energy does not automatically disperse. These moments are like coins. One coin is nothing. But if you keep dropping them into the same place, this small inner fund, they begin to add up. Over time, they form a magnetic center, an inner moon that holds your energies to you rather than letting them be drawn away. To help you see further why divided attention is necessary, you must understand that you are not one thing inside. I have already pointed to the many eyes that parade through you. One says, I will wake up early tomorrow. Another says, sleep a little more, it doesn't matter. One says, I must work on myself seriously. Another says, this is too much effort, I'll begin later. These eyes belong to different parts of your inner factory, and they are often in conflict. The result is what you already know: inconsistency, broken promises, sudden changes of mood and aim. Your inner factory has at least 3 main departments: intellectual, emotional, and moving instinctive. They are like 3 workers who speak different languages and are rarely in the same room. One worker, the intellectual, is talkative and proud. He loves to plan, to analyze, to make theories. Another, the emotional, is volatile, now enthusiastic, now depressed, now in love, now in hatred. The third, the moving instinctive, is quiet and efficient. It runs your posture, your breathing, your habits, your digestion, your automatic skills. When these 3 workers do not cooperate, the factory wastes enormous energy. It produces little of value, but spends much. Picture this factory for a moment. In one corner, the intellectual worker is drawing up grand charts of self-improvement strategies, morning routines, spiritual goals. He writes, erases, rewrites. He becomes very excited about new ideas. He reads books, watches videos, invents complex systems. Meanwhile, the emotional worker is in another corner, weeping or laughing about some small event, a look from someone, a remembered insult, a piece of music. Each throws him into a storm. And the moving instinctive worker is in the basement carrying heavy loads, running machines, repairing pipes, while no one cares for him unless he breaks. You say, I am exhausted. Which part? You say, I want to change. Who wants? At one moment, the intellectual part wants to stop feeding the moon, to work on itself. At another, the emotional part wants comfort, recognition, drama. At another, the moving instinctive part wants habitual pleasures: food, sex, distractions, comfort in the body. When one is strong, it drags the others along, but only for a short time. A man may read about discipline and wake early for 3 days. Then his emotion says, what is the point? And the body drags him back under the blankets. Divided attention begins to bring these 3 into the same room. When you sense your body while watching your thoughts and feeling your emotions, you invite the moving instinctive worker, the intellectual worker, and the emotional worker to sit at the same table, even for a moment. In such a meeting, they may begin to understand each other. The intellectual part sees that the body is tense. The emotional part feels the misery of constant inner criticism. The moving part notices that the breath is shallow. Something like an inner council begins. Let us try again now. Bring your attention to the physical sensations in your abdomen, whatever is there: tightness, softness, neutrality. At the same time, notice one emotion present right now. Perhaps curiosity, skepticism, mild irritation, boredom, or a vague calm. Do not dig, just name it silently. Curiosity, doubt, tension. Then also notice what the mind is saying. Perhaps this is interesting, or this is nonsense, or I already know this. 3 things: sensation in the abdomen, the flavor of emotion, and one line of thought. Hold them all in attention together for a few seconds. If you managed even a sliver of this, you have just held, for a heartbeat, your 3 centers in one field of awareness. The factory lights flickered in all departments at once. Such moments are not food, they are investment. The moon gains nothing from them. You gain something invisible but real. You will forget soon after. You will fall again into identification with one center, usually the mind or the emotions. Yet each time you gather them even briefly, you strengthen an inner organizing principle. You are teaching your inner workers that a master might come. Look at how the moon uses each center when you live mechanically. Through the intellectual center, it feeds on useless thinking, speculation, worry, argument, constant inner talking. You can spend hours in imaginary conversations, rehearsing, revising, defending. The quality of energy produced is high. The waste is enormous. Through the emotional center, it feeds on negative states, resentment, jealousy, fear, self-pity, secret contempt. These states burn the finest fuels in you, leaving you drained and dull. Through the moving instinctive center, it feeds on your habits: overeating, laziness, compulsive movement, sexual overindulgence, fidgeting, posture. Every unnecessary movement, every unneeded tension is a leak. You may not like to hear this, but your sexuality is one of the main pipelines. Sexual energy is a very high-octane fuel in you. It can power great creativity, real love, deep perception. But when it is spent mechanically through compulsive fantasy, restless seeking of stimulation, misuse of the body, it becomes premium food, not for you, but for the moon. I do not tell you this to shame you. Shame without seeing is useless. Rather, I suggest that you begin to notice, without judgment, how sexual impulse arises and where it goes. The next time you feel a sexual urge or a fantasy begins to play across your inner screen, do not immediately indulge it and do not fight it with disgust. Stand between those two extremes. Feel the physical sensations connected with it, the warmth, the pressure, the quickening. At the same time, sense your feet or your hands. Try to hold both, the rising energy and the grounded sensation, without adding imagination. Even a few seconds of this will feel like standing in front of a powerful river holding a thin dam. You are not repressing, you are observing. You are allowing the energy to rise without instantly pouring it into the usual channel. In those moments, you may glimpse that this force can be directed not only downward and outward, but also inward and upward, not by miracle, by law. If it is not wasted in automatic discharge, it seeks a new function. It can thicken attention, deepen feeling, sharpen perception. Earlier, this energy left you quickly, leaving behind a kind of hollowness, a need for more stimulation. Now, if even a trace is retained, you may feel a quiet intensity in the chest or the head, a clearer seeing. You begin to discover that not all pleasure is food, and not all discomfort is harm. As your inner factory begins to function more harmoniously, another phenomenon appears, one that is very inconvenient for your ordinary comfort. Conscience